requirement provided for the Open Public Meeting Law has been satisfied. Notice was properly given. Said notice having been transmitted to the Courier News and Star Ledger on Tuesday, January 2nd, 2018, as well as posting on the bulletin board in the city clerk's office. May I have a roll call, please?
Council members Armati.
Here.
Councilman Good.
Present.
Councilman Hockaday.
Here.
Councilman Storch.
Here.
Councilwoman Tauber.
Here.
Vice President Mills Ransom.
Present.
And Council President Craig.
Present.
We have all members present and a quorum.
Clerk, are there any communications from the mayor?
Yes, His Honor, the Mayor has submitted the following nominees for advice and consent from the City Council. That's James Plummer as an alternate number 2 member for the Plainfield Historic Preservation Commission, and Nancy Jordan, as well as Kelly Sherrill to the Plainfield Youth Commission.
The bills list and other financial documents have been sent to the council via email. Public comments will be limited to resolutions and ordinance being considered this evening. Each speaker will be given a total of 3 minutes. The floor is now open.
Harold Hewitt, 1353 Cushing Road. I'm happy to be here, but I want to speak on the ordinance which involves the change of the city charter and code. And first of all, I want you to know that I do not take pleasure in being a voice of disagreement, that I feel that to preserve our democracy, it's a citizen's duty to speak out. This particular ordinance has been conceived in what I consider political disregard for constitutional procedures and law, and it is full of inconsistencies and contradictory statements. I do not have time to go into detail, but if you have read all of the more than 110 pages, plus the many pages of the city code changes, you will know what I'm referring to. Each of you has received several letters from Mary Burwinkle which go into detail why this ordinance in its present form should not be passed. I can only concur with her comments. I'm not going to waste your time and the public's with similar remarks. I'm curious, though, if you're willing to state under your oath of office that considering her letters and that you've read in detail this ordinance. If so, I might accept that you're passing these draconian changes in good faith. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Alan Goldstein, 939, Madison Avenue. Twice at the August meeting, once at this portion of the meeting, once afterwards.
We can't hear you.
Is this better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, twice at the August meeting, once at this portion and once later on, I asked a question pertaining to a reference to the city maintaining the sewer that was still in those ordinances. And I didn't get one response, not from one person beyond this barricade, as to why it was still there. Now, I noticed this morning when Mary Burwinkle had her letter published to the City Council, she makes mention of that too. Why is there a rubber? Why has this whole affair been done in this slipshod manner? Personally, I think that the ordinance is very deficient, even if you agree with where it's going. I don't think anybody sitting up here even understands what the ramifications are, what the long-term nature of this will be. I just know from my experience here that if we open up the door employment hanky-panky and such, someone's going to run with the ball. So it may not be this administration, it may be the next administration. But there's patronage, there's nepotism, there's all sorts of means, where this could be a problem and this could add very substantially to the tax base. So as far as what Ms. Bergwingel's concerns were and the answers that she figures you need to answer first before voting on it, I agree wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Mary Berwinkle, 1785 Sleepy Hollow Lane. I don't want to take up a lot of your time. I sent you a letter. I sent you all a letter. You have it. It's on the Plainfield Vision blog for anybody else who wants to read it. But I just have to say 3 things. First of all, I did read that whole ordinance. It was painful, but I read the whole ordinance. And you guys are part-time legislators. You have families, you have jobs, you have other things to do. And I think you deserve a better product than that. Like, if somebody's going to amend a statute, you should get the statute section that's being amended, marked to show the changes, and then a short statement of why it's changing. You shouldn't get what you got, which I think was very difficult to deal with, and I've read a lot of statutes in my lifetime. But it has the feel of a very rough first draft to me, and I would not be comfortable voting on it myself. The second thing I would like to say is, what's the rush with this whole thing? We had 50 years of a bad 3-department thing in the charter, and all of a sudden, in like 2 meetings, we have to railroad this whole thing through with a statute that looks as though it was really very badly prepared. And my last question is just, I'd really like to nail down once and for all the difference between these administrative assistants that are in each department thing in the ordinance, and then the confidential assistants who don't appear in the ordinance, but appear in the charter. And it appears as though different people are appointing them. So it looks to me like they're not the same people. But I would just like to know those things. So anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to first address the initial comment from Mr. Goldstein about the division of sewers, the streets and sewers, which appears in our code. That was a position that has existed in our code for decades. When we endeavored to reorganize the departments in city government, we did not remove any existing divisions. Now, as we know, we have a PMUA, and there is no longer a director of the Division of Streets and Sewers. And there won't be, because that position is not budgeted by the City Council. However, it was not our task to go through the code and eliminate positions that may be of need to future administrations and city councils. Our job, as the mayor had laid out in his presentation, was to reorganize the existing departments. That's what we did. Did we create any new divisions? No, we did not. We merely created new departments. So any division that you see, something like streets and sewers, existed in the previous code, and you can see it in the old code version, and you'll see it in the new code version. Secondly, the question of confidential assistance also has always existed in our code. We do not provide any new language with regard to aides. However, it will say in the code that every department head has a confidential assistant. That, as the mayor had said previously, that has always existed and will continue to exist. So, as far as any new positions, I can say very clearly to everyone, there are no new divisions, there are only new departments and a restructuring of those divisions. Thank you, Council President.
Seeing none for further comment, can I have a motion to close public comments?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public comments is now closed. MC 2018-21 through MC 2018-22 are scheduled for public hearing and second reading on September 11, 2018 as advertised. Are there any questions from council on these ordinances? Let's start with Councilman Towler,
None.
Councilman Hockaday,
No additional questions.
Councilman Good,
No, Council President.
Councilman Storch,
Yes. So, some questions and some comments. I did speak with members of the administration and clarified some things that I think would be good to just go over. I'll leave that to them. So, here's a comment about the, and I agree with Ms. Bergman, it was very hard to read it, but I mean, it is our responsibility, and I did read 120 pages. The replacement of the business administrator in this proposed ordinance, and it might actually be in the old ordinance, I didn't go back and look at that, but the mayor has the option of designating another department director, which I think is wise, but the mayor can also designate himself, and with the current mayor, that would be a problem because he's an experienced city administrator. That's an exception to the rule. I can think back in my experience in government that we had a mayor who was not, and who actually did designate herself mayor, business administrator for a brief period of time. I don't think that's desirable. So I think, and I'm looking to the future, we're going to have future mayors that are going to be governed by this ordinance. So I would like to see us strike that language that the mayor can designate himself. I think it's more likely that a mayor would designate a qualified person if their only options were a department head. To take the place of a business administrator. I think there's some like minor language inconsistencies. I don't think it really affects the substance, but it would have been better if we were just more consistent. And for example, it does say the business administrator supervises all department heads, but then when you start reading the language under the department heads, there's a lot of language under the supervision of the business administrator, but it doesn't say that for all the department heads. It's clear that that's going to be the case, but I just wish it was just more consistent. I think more important, the administrative assistants for each department, the language in this ordinance says that they can be removed, they may be removed by the new administration. So the language basically is saying that they would be subject to the same changeover when mayor comes in with the new administration. Of course, the department heads are likely to be replaced. That's true everywhere. And, corporation council is likely to be replaced. But when you get down to the level of administrative assistants, I just worry about that being an opportunity for a future mayor to exercise patronage. And again, I'm thinking of my previous experience in city government where we had some decisions were made by administrators that the council had no say about at the level of assistance, where people could be brought in maybe just because they're friends and they're not as qualified as the person who was there before. So I worry about that, and I would actually prefer to see that language removed. The public information officer, that's a position that's been in our code for quite some time. This is nothing new. That's not a good argument to keep it. With a new, if we are going to create a Department of Communication, why do we need a public information officer? We're also going to have a manager of media, so that we have a director and a manager of media. Why don't we take these three positions and combine them into two positions? I think we need to be sensitive to the taxpayers. And lastly, under the Department of Public Works, there are, we're carrying forward the old language for bureaus. There's actually 8 bureaus. This is old language that includes things that are now done by the PMUA, but there's a lot of different things that go back quite some time. And it could be an opportunity for a future administration to have a field day with patronage, because the language in this new ordinance, reflecting the old ordinance, allows for the administration to create assistant superintendents. We could create up to 8 of them, theoretically. And it may not even be a new person. It could be an existing person just getting a big salary increase. Is that what we want? I don't think so. So that's those are my main concerns, and then here's my question. The Article 15, it seems like that's a new article. This is the article creating the clerk responsibilities. Because I couldn't find anything in the old section that spoke to this article. So could you answer that?
Absolutely. The clerk's position had been in the prior code reporting to the business administrator. It was our position that it was better suited to be a direct report to both the mayor and to the council, because that's where the duties lie. Directly working with the council, directly working with the mayor. So it was restructured to be a direct report to those two bodies.
Was that included in the separate ordinance?
No, that's in this ordinance.
Okay, I couldn't find, maybe 120 pages, and
No,
I missed it.
I can assure you, it exists in the ordinance.
And the language is pretty much carryover?
Yes, no, there's absolutely no change in duties, only a moving of it from under the business administrator to under the mayor and council.
Okay, so I just urge my colleagues to think about not how this ordinance is going to affect 2018 or 2019, but think about the future, because this is an ordinance, it's not a resolution. Ordinances are meant to last. Of course, they can be changed, and we have that option at any time, but that's not what we're supposed to be thinking when we create an ordinance. We're supposed to be thinking about the future as well as the present. And I'm just speaking from my experience. I've served under 3 mayors, all very different. I served on the Board of Education, and I saw with the change of leadership in the superintendent's office and the board, a complete sea change in what happened with the Board of Education, where we were moving forward, as I think this administration in City Hall is doing, and I commend them, but you don't know what's going to happen in the future. And with our Board of Ed, after Larry Leverett left, we went in a complete different direction. Of course, I think it's coming back again, but we can't assume what's going to happen in the future, and we have to guard against the excesses of government at any level, and I think that's what my comments are directed towards.
Mr. Harvey.
No comments.
No answer? Okay.
Council President, with your permission, I neglected to ask the question. I intend to ask it at this time concerning MC 2018.
Speak into the mic, please.
2018-21. How would that affect someone who I received a call this morning, someone who wants to replace the line that they have on their business? So how would this ordinance affect them? Because they want to replace it as soon as possible.
As soon as the ordinance is effective, that's when the new rules will apply. So the ordinance, if adopted next week, then would have 20 days, and then it would be effective. So if he wants to apply under the new regulations, I would suggest that he do it after the end of September.
Thank you so much. That's all.
Are there any questions for resolutions A through D? And do we have a consensus to add to the agenda? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Point of order. Does the public have a chance to speak on these resolutions?
Council President, there is no point of order from members of the public.
I understand that, but I still have a question.
Public comments already took place on the
I
resolution.
comments
told
to
you they would be separate.
It was taking place, he just informed me.
I think that there's some confusion, because normally we have public hearings separately for ordinances than for resolutions, and I think you combine them, so I think maybe not everybody picked up on that.
No, I'm sorry.
We had public comments on resolutions and ordinances being considered. The public comments on the ordinances for second reading take place at the time of adoption next week.
That's right.
Are there any questions for resolutions E and F? Do we have a consensus to add them to the agenda?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Department of Administration and Finance please present their items?
Good evening, Council. Resolution G is a resolution requesting authorization to spend up to $40,800 with Nantech World Newark for 16 digital literacy training sessions, which is what we've been doing previously, and 24 Cisco certification training classes in 2018. There will be a 2019 budget request to continue the Cisco classes because it's a 280-hour class for 35 weeks. So to control the budget, at least in this one case, I broke it down. Item H is a request for authorization to enter into an agreement with Union County College, particularly the Plainfield campus, in an amount not to exceed $65,000 for 280 hours or 35 weeks of Cisco Certified Network Associate training for 15 individuals. Tuition fee is $3,796 per student, with an additional cost of $325 per student for the certification program exam.
Mr. West, how successful was the literacy program last time? How many people attended, you know? How successful did they complete it?
We've had 39 people complete the digital literacy training.
Okay, did we use Union County College last year?
No, this is a brand new venture.
So the $65,000 is for them to, they'll be actually teaching these 39?
We're going down two different paths with regard to Cisco training. We're going to have classes at New Covenant Church, and there'll be two instructors there, teaching Cisco training. And then we're having a separate class setting at Union County College, the Plainfield campus, where they will be doing training as well.
How many days a week are they going to be at each place?
2.
2 at?
2 days at Union County College. Instructor 1 at New Covenant will be there for 2 days a week. Instructor 2 will be there for a different set of 2 days.
So if it's $65,000 for Union County, how much is it for New Covenant?
New Covenant, as I was indicating to council previously, I only factored in classes through the end of the year. The Cisco number that you're looking at for Union County College is for completion of the program. So that tuition covers 280 hours worth of training per individual for up to 15 students. The Nantech World only covers 24 classes. There'll be a resolution request brought back to the council for 2019 to continue with
What's
that.
the fee for New Covenant?
New Covenant, the fee for that is instructor 1 costs us $200 per training session, and instructor 2 $175 per training session.
Is there any reason it wasn't combined all together and just let Union County do it? Or it wasn't available?
Well, there's a limit on the number of students that you can teach in these classes. So what we were trying to do was maximize the number of Plainfield residents that would be eligible to participate in this. And with regard to the digital literacy training, that's something that was done by Nantech World. And so we had an opportunity to do what we thought was 2 aspects of public good, to continue at the New Covenant and to strengthen the level of programs offered at Union County College on the Plainfield campus. Because they do Cisco training at Union County College. They do it at the Crawford campus.
At the end of all of this training, will we do any type of a study to see if it was valuable to the citizens of Plainfield?
Yes, we will.
Or if there's anything need to be implemented in the next year to make it better than it was the year before?
That will certainly be the intent, because what we're talking about here is hopefully at the end of the road, we have a number of individuals who are able to successfully pass the Cisco certification, which makes them eligible for employment, far more than they are today. So that's what we're going to be using as the measure.
Was there any follow-through that how many perhaps got a job?
We have not offered this before, so this is new to us. I can tell you from the Cisco perspective, they've had thousands of people get jobs through the through the Cisco certification training. There are thousands of people who qualify for that. It's a growing field, and we want to be eligible and able to compete in that market.
Well, just a suggestion, I won't be here, but it's a suggestion that I feel it's a good program, it's money worth spent, but I think we need to follow up in the end and see how many literate people actually be in place in employment. And I think that'd be important numbers for the future. Maybe we could even expand even more, having even more people added to that number. Thank you.
Stop it.
Have we already selected individuals or Plainfield residents for these programs?
You will find there'll be a number of announcements coming out over the next couple of weeks for the digital literacy training, which is again separate and apart. Also for the introduction of the Cisco training. There will be meetings with the public, particularly for Union County College, to bring people in, let them understand what the program's all about. The key thing that we worry about is people making the commitment to participate for 280 hours worth of programs. These classes are 4 hours long. And so, and they're tough. These aren't easy classes. The literacy classes, people can pass. The certification classes are a lot more intensive, and we hope that they make it through it. So we're going to be doing all that we can to give them the kind of support that they need to make it through, whether they go to the library or we do other things to just give them a better chance of success. But there will be announcements in September, for the programs and all of their aspects and detailing that there are differences in terms of when the classes will take place. We're not in conflict with each other at this point in time. And our intent is to maximize the number of individuals for Cisco certification training. We're hoping to get 39 people in total through this program.
They'll post it on the website and
Absolutely.
Mr. Good?
Mr. West, it's 4 hours per session per class. How many days?
2 days a week.
2 days a week. And how long is the
35 weeks.
35 weeks? And of course, if everything goes well, they're certified.
They sit for the certification test. They still must pass that test.
And what's the score?
I do not know what the worldwide Cisco success rate is, but it's something we're looking at. We have concerns about making sure the right people come forward, and it's kind of tough to vet people when they say they want a job. So that's one of the reasons last month we came forward with a request to enhance the level of technology software or technology classes available at the library. So that if somebody's really serious about moving forward, we're trying to do all that we can to give them every avenue to succeed.
What's the passing score on the test?
I think the passing score is 70.
Thank you.
Mr. Storch?
No question.
Is it only open to Plainfield residents? Like, is there a way of vetting who
Taxpayers obtain this, so you're going to have to show proof of residency.
Okay, perfect. No further questions.
Those Renzo?
No questions.
Questions, okay, Mr. West?
Resolution I is a resolution requesting right-of-way use to Cross Fiber LLC to install fiber optic cable through Plainfield. The BPU, the federal, the FCC and other regulatory bodies really control this, and it's something that we must do, when push comes to shove. We have to give them the right-of-way to come into town. You can vet things a little bit, but you can't charge them or anything else. The positive for the city may be if this firm actually has a customer, that wants to do business, whether it's in Plainfield or somewhere that requires them to actually run fiber through the city, which means that it can then be dropped off at different points throughout the city. So from an economic development perspective, there can be an enhancement. Item J is a resolution requesting approval to make an amendment to the budget in the amount of $250,000. This is a Chapter 159 request, moving $250,000 in additional Louis East funds for the North Avenue Vault Repairs Project. Item K is a resolution requesting authorization to refund $36,877.93 due to a successful state tax appeal for Plainfield Madison Park LLC. Item L is a resolution requesting authorization to refund $4,967.29 due to a successful state tax appeal by Giant Realty LLC, which is for the property located at 115 Waynewood Park, Block 233, Lot 12. Item M is a resolution requesting authorization to issue 2 refunds totaling $709.53 due to tax overpayments. Item N is a resolution requesting authorization to cancel the 2018 and 2019 taxes on Block 534, Lot 1, due to an exemption in the amount of $10,519.01 for 2018 and $5,259.51 for 2019. The property is a parcel, which is the reason for the exemption. Item O is a resolution requesting authorization to cancel 2018 and 2019 taxes due to a 100% disabled veterans exemption for Block 812, Lot 3. And so we're talking $18,368.64 for 2018, $9,823.20 for 2019, and in addition to that, there's a refund that's owed in the amount of $8,305.44. Item P is a resolution requesting authorization to issue 17 refunds totaling $50,052.49 due to duplicate payments. Item Q is a resolution to accept 2 bids from contiguous property owners for substandard lots that we were given authorization to go out and sell in the amount of $2,100. Block 119, Lot 14.01, which is 22931 Prescott Place, sold for $1,500, and Block 933, Lot 21, for 1817 Watchung Avenue, sold for $600. And these are substandard lots, not buildable, and the only buyer can be someone that's a contiguous owner. Resolution R is a resolution requesting authorization to accept a grant in the amount of $820,000 to offer countywide services to help prevent children from being harmed by lead or exposed to lead. And this is a 1-year extension to a previously approved grant. And in the way of background information, what happens is our inspectors perform environmental assessments. JFK helps provide nursing case management and education. We do children's screenings throughout the preschools and other schools in town. If the property owner ends up having no funds for abatement, we help them work their way through proceeds, which does have some funds, some grant money available, because one of the things they're required to do is abate the property.
How much was the last?
Stop. Any question?
No.
Stop. No question. Mr. Good?
How much was the last grant?
The last grant was for 6 months for $499,000.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes. Item P, could you explain the reason for those duplicate payments? It seems like a lot.
Well, you have refinancings. People may change their banks when they do the refinancings. That's the biggest thing, where there's a change in ownership and your mortgage holder 1 makes a payment, mortgage holder 2 makes a payment, you've got duplicate payments. So that's the biggest reason we have that. And refinancings are, were not uncommon in 2018 and 2017 in this case. because mortgage interest rates were low, and if you remember, there was a prediction that interest rates were going to go up, which caused a number of people to go and make filings. But this is something that you see every month. This is a larger number than usual, but again, you're talking about people now paying attention to the fact that interest rates are going up and will continue to go up.
Yeah, it's a little surprising because, at real estate closing, there's all kinds of experts getting paid, attorneys, bankers, and it seems like they don't catch these mistakes. They're terrible.
But remember, this is about timing. That old banker may not be there. So if you're going from Citibank to Chase, Citibank's making a payment, Chase is at the closing. Two different things. We even have individuals that end up making payments because they think the taxes haven't been paid, and that's when you see the individuals come before us, where their financing operation is doing one thing and they're doing something else.
So prospective homeowners beware, right? Also, there's a typo on item R. I think you probably see it. Could you just correct that for next week? Yes, in the title of the resolution.
It's been corrected.
We're not providing childhood leisure program.
Clerk said it's been correct.
Thank you.
No questions.
Mr. Mills Ransom? Do I have consensus to move these items to the agenda?
Yes.
Will the Department of Public Affairs and Safety please present their items?
Good evening, Council President, members of council. Item S, just one resolution authorizing the purchase of a new fire apparatus pumper for $498,704. It's capital. It's to replace the aging pumper that's been there for 18 years.
Any questions?
Yes. There was a truck we got some years ago, and for some reason, warranty couldn't be found or whatever happened. What's the warranty going to be on this truck? Because that's a lot of money.
Not sure. I can't answer that right now. I don't have the paperwork.
What I'm saying is, I looked it over paperwork that was in the resolution, but we will have a warranty.
Yes, ma'am.
Because the other truck, things was breaking down and nobody wanted to fix it, so I want to make sure that it's got a good warranty.
I'm sure the fire department put this resolution together. I'm just presenting. I'm assuming they do have a warranty. Other one was purchased prior to this
And
administration.
what will happen with the old truck? How will we dispose of it? Or will it keep it actively going?
If you're referring to the fire ladder of a couple of years ago, that was sold for $100,000 and went to help offset the payment of a new fire ladder. If you remember, this body approved a purchase of $1 million to replace a non-working fire ladder.
That was under capital. The old truck more than likely would be used as a backup or possibly donated to another organization.
That's what I'm asking. I'm just asking what's going to happen to it. I mean, let's stay, are we going to continue to use it, or is we going to donate it to someone? Just asking a question. What's going to happen to it?
It's going to be two options. I'm sure the chief and deputy chief will be able to answer that question for you. It will either be used as a backup if something happens to these newer trucks. If not, it may be donated to a less.
But they do have to go in the shop and have maintenance done on them from time to time, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering,
So
are
two
we
options.
going to continue to utilize it because it's old? So that means you're going to have to keep maintenance up on it. So I'm just asking a question, if we needed to keep it as a backup, that's fine. If we're going to donate it to someone, that's fine. But I'm just asking what's going to happen to it.
I don't run operations at the fire division. They will determine what they're going to do with it. And you can ask the chiefs directly. I'm sure they'll provide you with the necessary answer.
All right,
Thank you.
Mr. Hockaday?
No questions.
Mr. Good?
None, Council President.
Councilman Stewart?
No questions.
Councilman Elmer?
Yeah, just one. How long do you project this one to last for?
Not sure.
Councilman Mills Ransom? Do I have consensus to move this to the agenda?
Yes.
Would the Department of Public Works and Urban Development please present their items?
Mr. Council President, members of council, Resolution T is resolution authorizing the award of a contract to Diamond Construction, Inc., for North Avenue Walton Sidewalk Repair Project, the amount not to exceed $356,774. This there's 46 vaults in the area that could be filled in with cement. And the size of them are 10 by 6 by 6, 10 foot in length, 6 foot high, 6 foot deep. And that to be filled in because of the sidewalk is major infrastructure work that needs to be done. And it was 4 bidders that submitted bids. The highest bidder was $200,000 higher than the lowest bidder. So I think this is a good number for what we're trying to do with those walls. Resolution R, resolution authorizing approval to ratify the submission of a grant application, accept the grant, and execute the grant with the Union County Department of Human Services, Division of Aging, in the amount of $170,000. This is for the senior center. They try to put in for a grant for 3 years, $170,000 a year. On average, they get like $85,000 to $90,000 per year to offset salaries and other social services and recreation services. Resolution B, resolution authorizing purchase of 2 new International Model 7400 dump chassis trucks on the state contract 79123 in amount not to exceed $154,230. This is to enhance the fleet of equipment. This right here resolution is for the body, the cab, and the chassis. That's what this one resolution is for. This to build the truck. So it's the cab and the chassis of the truck. And these trucks are very versatile, used for plowing snow, picking up garbage, yard waste, etc. And next resolution complements it. Resolution authorizing the purchase of 2 new 2018 dump bodies with hydraulics and salt spreaders and plows under the educational co-op. This is good for us because this part of the truck is the dump body itself that goes onto the truck. And it's a spreader on it, you get a plow, spreader, etc. Arrow lights, etc. This is a good price for the trucks, and these trucks will enhance the fleet that we have. And again, it's used for snow, to pick up brush, etc. It's versatile, multi-purpose trucks that we can utilize in the fleet. It enhances the overall fleet of equipment and public works. Resolution X, resolution authorizing 17 lien placements due to emergency abatements totaling $13,000. This was the clean and lean that we had to do on 17 properties, and this is the amount we received back for that. Resolution Y, resolution authorizing refunds of escrow payments in amount not to exceed $1,500 for 3 inspections we did on properties, totaling $500 per location.
Any questions?
One question. So how many salt spreaders would that give us?
I'm sorry.
Salt spreaders, how many do we have?
And to this now?
Yes.
In our fleet, we may have maybe 18 on this.
That should definitely help.
It always assets in the hands and improve everything that we try to do. And these are larger trucks that open up the streets and wide. They're looking for
More
plows.
salt and they can get out at they do a good job, but having additional salt spreaders will definitely help to.
Councilman, you're correct. Everything will enhance our fleet and the total operation services, yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Hockaday?
No, this is a welcome expenditure, expanding our capacity so that we can continue to deliver services to our residents. Whenever we have a snow emergency, residents have expectations that, we get to their block and clear their roads so that they can work, so this is something that, I'm happy to be able to support, to provide to our residents. Thanks.
Good.
Mr. Dutton, we do know that there's a process when it comes to abatements, but I'm just curious, why is this so low? Because I know it's got to be more than 17.
Well, that's for now, right? There's more coming. This is just the start of it, right? As we submit them, put them all together, the process and add everything up, everything together, yes. You're right. It's quite a bit.
More?
Yes.
Can you give us like a number?
In terms of how many more abatements?
Yeah.
I mean, top of my head, we have 30, 40 that are coming at a clip that we're putting together. And with the task force that we'll talk about next time, it'll really enhance quite a bit. So,
thank you, sir.
Storage.
Actually, my questions were answered.
No question.
Mr. Mills? Do I have consensus to place these on the agenda?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, with economic development, please present their item.
Good evening, council members. Resolution authorizing a 1-year contract extension to Black Rock Enterprises for the construction of the first section of the Greenbrook Multi-Use Trail in an amount not to exceed $219,000 to $219,862.50. This contract was awarded in November of 2017. We're asking you to extend the contract. We ran into problems earlier this year related to DEP permits, and also we had to avoid the bird nesting season. So we would like an extension for this particular work.
Any questions? Do I have consensus to move
Yeah,
this?
just one question. Do you have the boundaries? This is the westernmost section or no?
Yes, the boundaries for this portion of the trail, beginning at Jefferson Avenue and terminating at Arrow Road. So that, yeah.
No, that's the whole trail. but just-
Just this location. Let's see, I did have it, let's make sure, Jefferson, between Jefferson and Rock Avenue.
Okay, thank you.
Any more?
That's it?
Do I have consensus to move this to the agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Citizens are welcome to address the council on
Council
any...
President, I just want to ask the indulgence of the council. When I made some suggestions at the beginning of the meeting about the city reorganization ordinance, I was hoping to get a response from the city administrator, but you quickly moved on to the other agenda items. I didn't want to stop the forward momentum, but I would like to go back and get an answer to, I can repeat the suggestions, but
I don't think the city administrator is ready to answer those questions without conferring with the top administrator.
well, I'd like to hear from him if that's true.
I made note of all your suggestions and we will look at them and we'll entertain them.
Okay, yes, but specifically, there are three things. And part of, my question for right now is, when the city administration put together the reorg, did you consider what the unintended consequence could be for the language, the administrative assistant language? And what I'm referring to specifically is that they may be removed by new administration. The patronage.
No, confidential assistants who serve department directors have always served at the pleasure of their directors. That has always been the case. And I would suspect the rationale for that is that you, as a director, want a trusted person to handle, in many instances, confidential personnel information. All other assistants from the city are subject to civil service, therefore they take a test, they get on a list. Those positions have always been outside, or have been deemed unclassified positions that are not subject to civil service testing. That's always been the case.
That would be the argument for the language that you're proposing. But what I'm asking is, did you consider the unintended consequence, which could be, you're talking about the best case scenario. The worst case scenario is that an unqualified person could take the place of a qualified person when a new administration comes in, simply because they're a friend of the new mayor.
But couldn't that logic be used for any position that's unclassified, whether it be a department director? I mean,
I'm not making that argument for a department director. I agree with the changing department directors. I'm talking about.
Every position would have an unintended consequence, though.
I think when a new administration comes in, they should have their own leadership. I don't see the benefit of making wholesale sweeping changes to low-level positions. That's what I'm concerned about.
Well, it's not, I would only take issue with the idea that it's wholesale change. It's only those assistants who serve the directors.
Right. Okay, so my question, so did you consider the possibility that this could lead to patronage appointing a friend who's qualified is one thing, but in city government, we've seen it in Plainfield, people get appointed because of who they know. And if it happens at this level, clearly that would not be a benefit to the city. So I just want to know if that was considered in your deliberations.
I think that what we looked at and our goal as an administration was to effectuate the mayor's vision for the reorganization of city government. I think that what future councils will do, or mayors will do, will largely change over time due to budget constraints, largely, the positions that they fill. Our task was to look at our current form of government, which we felt was sorely lacking and needed a modernization. That was solely our goal. We're not fortune tellers. We can't tell you, we can't see into the future and tell you what's going to happen. However, the positions that we did not add any unclassified positions. These positions have always existed. I hope that answers your question.
Well, they existed for the 3 departments.
Yes, they were for 3. Yes.
Yeah, the next question was, the next suggestion was about the public information officer and combining responsibilities and titles to save money. Okay, yeah, this was the, in the new department, the director would oversee a manager of media and a manager of public information. So I was suggesting that we combine those 3 positions into 2, and I wonder if that was considered.
No, I mean, I think we're hearing you say that for the first time this evening, and we will gladly consider that.
Okay. And the last suggestion kind of reverts back to the same concern I had with the admissions, which is that there's future potential for creating assistant superintendents.
Oh, no, I'll give you the answer that I gave previously. All of those positions are not, for instance, like a director of division of streets and sewers, that's not funded in the budget. It is up to this council, as the mayor comes forward with his budget, if he were to add such a position, the council, I'm sure, would have questions about that. There's no desire to do that. However, when we looked at the code book, we did not eliminate positions, we merely restructured. That may be a review for another day. We look at removing positions that we no longer use. However, we did not feel it was our role to hamper future administrations or councils by removing positions from the code. Our mission from the mayor was clear, to provide to council a reorganization that you could consider. That was solely our goal here.
Okay. So I think a stronger control on expense is a law. It's stronger than the balance of powers where a council could shoot down the mayor's proposal to create new positions. And I can give you examples, but that's why I think that we should be very careful with this ordinance. Any ordinance like this, the council has to look at this very carefully and not just say, well, maybe next year they'll propose something we don't like. We don't know what's going to happen, but if the law is the law, we follow it. When the governor said this, you can't do more than a 2% increase in your budget every year, we followed it. Before that, we didn't follow it. So it's really simple. Laws trump everything else. So I think, and this is a law that we're talking about, so I think we should seriously consider that language that is totally unnecessary in the present time, but could be a liability in the future. So before we vote on this next week, I would like for us to consider removing that language, the assistant superintendent language, and all those, or most of those bureaus. And I just want to ask my colleagues if they have any comments or reactions to what I'm saying.
Question. So you're saying that you didn't remove it, so you don't want to hamper future administrations. Obviously, PMUA is quasi-government run by a separate entity, but in the future, is it possible that it could be run by the city again?
Yes, it could. And actually, Councilman, that's exactly the reason why, when we contemplated this, we had no intention whatsoever to dissolve the PMUA. I would never want to give anyone that impression. However, we never know what the future will hold. So we didn't feel it was incumbent on us on this reorganization to eliminate any position that existed in our code book. It may very well be future administrations and council may see differently about the efficacy of the PMUA. But our goal here was not to cut positions. Our goal here was to reorganize existing departments and divisions.
But could it be filled if the PMUA still existed? That's another question to consider.
If it was budgeted, sure. I mean, the council would have to believe there was a need. I think it would begin with the administration coming to council and saying, as part of the budget process, we believe these two positions require funding. Council would consider that. Ultimately, it would be a council's decision whether or not those positions got created. The code book only allows for that position to exist. It doesn't create, it doesn't fund it, it doesn't put a body in that job.
So with any structural changes that we made, like what will the process look like? You know, in the event that, you know, you added or subtracted?
It would be part of the budget process.
Okay. No further questions.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Sorge?
That's it?
Okay. Citizens are welcome to address the council on any governmental item of concern to them, whether or not it is scheduled on the agenda above. During this portion of the agenda, a total of 60 minutes has been allocated for all public comments to be presented. If you wish to be heard, come to the podium and give your name and address to the clerk for the record. The amount of discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed, will be limited to 5 minutes. Large groups are urged to select someone to represent them. Floor is now open.
Bernice Paglia, 124 7th Street. Many years ago, there was a mayor who participated in, well, before he was a mayor, he participated in the charter review. That charter review actually went anywhere, but he then became mayor, and he had a friend who he wanted to be in his government. And the person's background was in social services, but he wanted to put him in, he wanted to make him something in finance. So that's when all the divisions under the 3 department heads got flipped around, and that was the genesis of the situation where there's now like 13, or there were 13, until you pass this ordinance, 13 divisions under administration finance. So that's just a little history. But the other thing is there are going to be many, many more people now who are non-union, not represented by PMMA or PMEA. And years ago, when I was a reporter, there was these salary increases were done by ordinance and passed by ordinance publicly, and that doesn't seem to happen anymore. I do Oprah's periodically to see what this existing salaries of the non-union are, and it's very interesting. But with this expansion of non-union, what will be the practice? Will these things be passed by ordinance? Some you have to establish by ordinance, salary range. But how will this actually work, Mr.
Sure, Council President. The confidential assistant positions that currently exist in the city are in fact actually part of our union and have been. So that's probably why you haven't seen anything. Whether or not that is if that makes sense going forward, obviously is a question that the administration is going to have to take up. But if you're asking all the confidential aides who support the department directors, they're actually currently members of the union.
Well, it's not just those, but there had, the last major salary ordinance that passed was for Pizza Palia and Laddie Wyatt. And they got a 5-year retroactive increase. And they went out with pensions that were nice. But
I'm not familiar. I'm sorry, but I'm not familiar with that specific ordinance. I know you are, but
but since then, these things don't come up periodically the way it used to. And, you know, it's of interest to the public to know how most highly paid public servants are getting paid.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Harold Gitz, 35th Street, Cushing Road. You know, for almost 25 years, I've attended most council business and agenda-setting meetings, and I understand that it is the council's privilege to change the actual format of the meeting and the operation. With that in mind, I asked and wanted to know whether the public comment for ordinances, the second reading ordinances, and for the resolutions would be separate items, and I was under the assumption that they were. And I take umbrage at not being able to ask my questions about the resolution. With that being said, I appreciate the members of this council asking questions about the Cisco certificates and resolutions G and H, I believe. And many of those were the same questions I would ask, and I hope the answers that were given will answer those questions. I also had questions about Resolution V and W, which had to do with 2 new dump trucks. It seemed to me, reading what I could from the agenda that I received, that these are the same 2 trucks for 2 different vendors. A lot of money is being spent on these trucks, and I gather they were being spent by using vendors who were state approved, and no RFPs were asked for this, which might be cost savings. With that said, I hope that my comments will be listened to and appreciated. Thank you.
Mary Burwinkle, 1785 Sleepy Hollow Lane. I just wanted to answer Councilman George's question about the city clerk provision. The city clerk is directly in the charter. It's section 2.13 of the charter, and it says, city clerk, clerk of the council. The council shall appoint the city clerk, who shall have the qualifications and duties set forth in general law, NJSA 40A:9-133 et seq. The city clerk shall serve as clerk of the council. The clerk shall keep a journal of city council proceedings and record the minutes of every meeting. The minutes of each meeting shall be signed by the officer presiding at the meeting and by the clerk of the council. That was actually changed in our Charter Study Commission, and it was just enacted into law by the statute. And it looks to me as though in our statute, it does not acknowledge in section 52.15 that the clerk actually is appointed by the council, and the mayor seems to have drafted himself in there. So I just wanted to point that out.
I wanted to ask a question because I wasn't clear about one comment.
Go.
After the public comment?
Yes.
Okay.
Timothy Priano, Martine Avenue, today in Queen City Pride. 2 questions, and it was about the resolution with the guy coming in with the fiber. What are we going to do with all these companies that come through our city with their wires on the lower lines, and they don't ever come back to repair them or take them down? The entire city is strewed with wires hanging off, from the cable companies, from the phone companies. No one has that many landlines, but we're not addressing the issue that we have cords everywhere, wires hanging in our streets, tied around trees, killing the trees because you don't know where else to tie them. And that's what we've had hanging up and down all our avenues. Secondly, part of this is the streets. We have weekly pickups in a month for neighborhoods, but we have to enforce that people are putting out shrubs right after they've cleaned up. And then for 4 weeks, we had these huge piles all over the streets of debris from the people doing their cuttings. And I noticed the other day, it was one of those landscapers that were supposed to be watching. They were dumping their stuff in the street instead of carting their crap after they do someone's yard. So our tax dollars are paying for this landscaper for DPW to clean up after them. I mean, it's very hard. With all the rains we've been having, all this debris is being shoved down into our sewer system, into the drains. The 2 in front of our house are completely packed from everything coming down from Woodland down Martine with tons of debris, and people just are not abiding by the rules. We need some sort of code enforcement to stop all this garbage bags and trash. It's once a month, I think, right? We get pickups in every neighborhood, but it's like the first week after it's done, then the next week, everyone starts throwing the stuff out on the streets again. And it's like you're dodging between the cars and 2 people going down the street. Lower Martine, there's huge piles. And it's because I go to Ducray every day that way. So I see the piles going on, and it's just crazy. It's like we have to enforce this because it makes the city look like garbage. I mean, when we first moved here, when we were looking at houses in Plainfield, we asked our real estate person, and that was 2 years ago. Why are there piles always in the street? Because we come every weekend to look at houses. Oh, that's because everyone just dumps their stuff on the sidewalk waiting for pickup. But we have rules, but no one's following the rules. And also the brown bags. You know, we're supposed to get our brown bags from DPW to put our waste in. Our leaves and our twigs and stuff. People are just piling this into the street, and this is all going into our sewers. And what's going to happen? Our sewers are going to explode from all this garbage going in. So it's just an address because it doesn't make the city look better. It looks like we're, you know, one step out of the hood most of the time with all this junk on the street. That's all.
Joanne Bandon, we're 1108 Hillside Avenue in Plainfield. Last year, when so many of the roads were repaved, and Hillside Avenue being one of them, there is a metal plaque in the street that's an access for public services, gas lines, or whatever. And so when they paved, they put little like 1x2 wooden strips over that hole, and then put the metal plate back on there again. And kind of, I guess, some of the pavement was up against it. And then as cars were going over it and whatever, one night, this plate, I later found out the next morning, it was like 3 houses down. And I would say it's probably like a 12 to 15 pound plate that a car hit it and flipped it out of this hole because it wasn't secured properly. So I put it back in again, and John and Louise came and they put some more macadam around it. And a couple weeks later, the same thing happened, except I was out on the front lawn and this thing went flying. I mean, it could hit a child, a car, whatever. It's really dangerous. I picked it up and brought it down to Public Works, and Mr. Louise had someone come and fill the hole in. In the meantime, it was explained to me that because of so many of the streets being paved, that Public Service was not going to come back in and do it, you know, one here, one there. But I'm thinking, I can't be the only person with an access problem in front of our house on Hillside Avenue. So I was wondering if somebody could get after Public Service to do their due diligence to, in fact, take care of those access plates. And I don't know whether the water company has the same problems, but I know it's Public Service. That's number one. 2, code enforcement. On Marlborough Avenue, for about 9 or 10 years, there was an elderly woman who lived up the other end towards Woodland. And I don't know what happened to the house, whether it was put in holding, but a lawyer had it. And more people in 10 years have been trying to purchase this house, and nobody can tell them who owns it, how to purchase it. I've spoken to council people in past years about it. And it's still there. It's flooded from all the, you know, the rains in the basement. I'm sure it's mold. People once in a while cut their lawn, and there's about 3 houses up that end of the street that are in foreclosure that are just like abandoned now. And when you consider that most of us, the biggest investment that we have is our homes, and people try and keep them nice, and then, you know, you're next door to this rundown, high grass homes. There's another one over on Woodbine Avenue, between Park and Arlington, and apparently the people live on the corner own a landscape company or something, so they were parking their dump trucks on the front lawn of this house. It was an elderly person who died, and whatever relatives own the house now are just sitting on it doing nothing. And a lot of the neighbors on that lower Woodbine to Arlington Avenue have improved their homes. They've complained to the people in code enforcement, and it's gone on for a couple of years now. And I know I sit there and I complain to my neighbors and my husband, and I'm thinking, I need to come here, you all need to hear that there are just so many neighborhoods that are falling apart. What he said about the trash bags in the street. I remember PMUA, when it first started out, they said you couldn't have your garbage cans in sight of the road. They had to either be behind some kind of fencing or in your backyard. And there are all over town PMUA garbage cans that are just sitting in eyesight day after day. I mean, they pull them up from the curb to the house, but it doesn't go further than that. South Avenue, that Dollar General store, the grass has got to be like 3 feet high down by the sidewalk. You know, just park cars that have flat tires that I know in the winter, the street sweeper goes around them, the snow plows go around them. I don't know whether, when the police do patrols, I've spoken to you on this before.
We've upticked a lot of unregistered and abandoned vehicles.
Okay.
I can show you the tow sheets.
Okay, all right, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's not being done, but I just hope that code enforcement, I mean, we don't need more laws on the books. We need to enforce the existing laws and be a lot prouder. I know Library Park, the other day I went by there, the garbage that is in there, and I know we have, indigent people who, don't care about their surroundings as much as some of us do, but who's responsible for cleaning that up? Is that Public Works? Is it PMUA? Garbage cans overflowing? There's just, I know when I go to other towns, I don't see the overflow of carelessness that I see in town here, and it really does make me sad. So I hope that whoever is responsible for overseeing those things would do their due diligence. Thank you.
I guess there's two things to talk about. The one that Tim Brown brought up, yes, we are out there checking every location there is in Brunswick, everybody putting out the brush too early or too late. We are hitting the summonses and warnings to do the right thing. And as far as you move back there, those areas you mentioned, we are addressing, and I will talk to public service regarding that matter you have there. We'll look into that. But all matters are being addressed. We have a task force that we'll talk about next week that will put out there to address a lot of issues throughout the city of Plainfield, and that we have zero tolerance for everything you just mentioned to us to address and improve. And we're fine for you, but I take it very serious. Everything you said I take very serious, and we're proud of what we want to do to make things better for the city of Plainfield, and we will address all these issues. And I want everybody to know too, sometimes be careful what you ask for, because we're going to be coming. We'll be coming hard with everybody that violates the law. Everybody. Okay?
Ready to ask your question now?
Yes. Actually, I'm going to just bypass that question because there's a related issue that just came to my attention. So the proposed ordinance says that the clerk, and I'm trying to help the clerk, not just the current clerk, but future clerks, not be between a rock and a hard place if the council and the mayor disagree. It happens. But under this proposed language, it says, under the direction and supervision of the mayor and city council. But in fact, the existing language does not say that. It's on page 6. I didn't see it before because it's at the beginning of the 120 pages. The new stuff is at the 21st page. But the current language says, under the direction and supervision of the city administrator. So it's switching from under the direction and supervision of the city administrator to under the direction and supervision of the mayor and city council. So I'm not necessarily arguing with that. I'm pointing out that that's not what we were just told. It is in fact a change.
No, I'm sorry, I just walked in. That's exactly what I said. I think all the council members could attest to that I explained the difference in the clerk's position was that now reported to the mayor and city council as opposed to the business administrator. And I hope somebody heard me say that, because I believe that's exactly what I said. Councilman, I think you can attest to that. I did not say anything other than what I just told you.
I take your word for it, but I guess what I'm thinking of is the conversation we had before the meeting where I asked you if the language was just moved to the new section, and you said no changes. So that's why I said what I just said.
I've been nothing but transparent in this process. I've explained every change as best as my ability. There are many changes, so if I'm asked about a specific section, I will always give you the straightforward and honest answer to that. If you ask me in generalized terms if I neglected to mention the clerk's position, it was an oversight, but I clearly, if you ask me, I provided you all the information I think this body needs to make a decision.
Okay, so now that I at least know that this is a change, what's the thinking behind it?
Statutory requirement to report to the council.
It says, the new language says, under the direction and supervision of the mayor and the city council.
So for the day-to-day operations, I report to the mayor and to the city council, whereas in the previous code, it just said under the direction of the business administrator. But under city law, the clerk has to serve as the clerk to the city council. So it specifies both the council and the mayor.
The law specifies both?
Our law does.
You're talking about our city charter?
Our code.
Our code. which section of the code specifies the mayor? Because I'm looking at it right now, and it just says city administrator.
That's what's being changed. It's being changed to say, under the direction of the mayor and city council.
And I'm just trying to understand the rationale behind adding the mayor to the language, because that's the.
If I may, the clerk has always had responsibilities in both the administration and the city council. I liken it to my own position. I serve both as the attorney to the council and to the administration. We felt that it made better sense in our meetings that the clerk, instead of reporting to the city administrator, would be a direct report, would still have an administrative function. We believe that exists, so that would be a direct report to the mayor, but then also a direct report to the council. It made more sense with the actual job that's being done by our clerk. That was our rationale, if you're asking for it.
Thank you both for the explanation.
Now, seeing no more for public comment, can I have a motion to close public comment?
Move, Council President.
Second.
All in favor? May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Meeting now adjourned.